So, amid all the dramatic music, the investiture, the smiling faces and the big Nigerian flags, today the official start of the journey to Monday, the day that Bola Ahmed Tinubu will realize his dream of a lifetime becoming president of Nigeria. But as his presidency splutters into life, will he be a beacon of hope for the many whose lives have been plunged into the darkest despair by years of tyrannical misrule and whose dreams have been extinguished by profoundly deficient leadership? After all, he did say repeatedly and volubly that only he can fix the problem. But for many Nigerians who have heard it all before, it's not what you say, but what you do. Because beyond the official launches and the smiling faces that most times don't tell the truth, there are the constant glitches, the promises that are never kept, and the woeful failures. So how can he wage a convincing war against that non-performance, bearing in mind that Nigerians hold his party, the APC, which has been in power for the last 8 years, responsible for that deepening insufficiency? How is he laying out his presidential agenda?
You have done your part, Mr. President. Now, a great duty will descend on me. I understand the meaning of the honor given to me today and the magnitude of the task that awaits. We are determined. As enumerated, we must make headway as if charted the course. The people deserve no less. You said so. I shall not disappoint you.
Well, we certainly hope not. Well, for more on this, I'm joined now in the studio by the rights activist, Mary Ikoku, who's also a member of the APC's Presidential Campaign Council. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Charles.
So what's the appeal of the Tinubu presidency for Nigerians? Because there seems to be a lot of baggage relative to when President Buhari took over 8 years ago.
A baggage?
Yeah, a lot of baggage relative to when President Buhari took over.
Of course, you know, they say that government is a continuum.
So it's a continuum of baggage, is it?
And in that sense, what it means is that you will continue to work at it. Where one didn't do well, the next person must continue to build and do better. And I listen to you, Charles. I'm not quite sure how you could put out those very strong words.
What strong words?
I mean, the intro was, I was listening and I'm like, wow, you are strong.
Well, I hope so. Certainly not weak.
You are very strong, you know, to come up with those words, because sometimes I think also it's pertinent on all of us to hold government accountable. President Muhammad Buhari has done his bit, and I'm sure that where he has not done well, the incoming president would, you know, work out better for Nigerians. And in areas where he has built some reasonable foundations, for instance, in areas of critical infrastructure, because I can tell you without a doubt that the rail systems that we've been enjoying is something to be proud of. There's no perfect system, but we hope that we will continue to build on the few wins by this president.
Yeah, I don't think I was quite referring to that just yet when I talked about baggage. I'm talking about the things that are hovering over the head of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, not just in terms of the legitimacy of the electoral process that brought him to power, which is there for all to see, and that's why there are legal challenges and all the rest of it, but also questions trailing his own record with things related to corruption, things related to his eligibility to run. There are all kinds of things. That's what I'm talking about, baggage. To some people, obviously, probably yourself, he's done well, but for many others, not very well at all. They see him as having a fairly shady background, not at all what this country needs at this low point in its history. How is he going to beat all that and achieve broader appeal?
Now, Charles, if you step out of this seat today, tomorrow, and you want to run for governor of your state, the things you read about you as Charles Aniogu, you will wonder, you will quiver and say, is this me they're talking about? I've come to realize that a lot of things are said about politicians, especially when you are in the eye of the storm, when you're running for office. I've had my own fair share.
Yeah,
of
you
it.
did run.
Yes.
I mean, you ran for...
I've never embezzled in my life. I've never stolen. I've never done anything shady. But you see, when you run for office, a lot of things will be put on. Yes. So it's all part of the politics, especially here where our political landscape is somewhat really dirty. And it's all over. But here we have a highly monopolistic political space, and our kind of monopoly is a very bad one. So what we want to do or want to see is a situation where we continue to build until we have people who can change the narrative and make the and reduce the monopoly in that space and make our political space better. And how you can do that, when people say our politics is dirty, if you have dirty people in your politics will be dirty. But if you want that to change, clean people, decent Nigerians should begin to get involved in partisan politics.
Right, and is Mr. Tinubu the clean person who's going to make that change?
Over time, there've been a lot of things put on him. And as an activist, there's something about me is that I love to fight for good governance. I want to see a country that works for everyone. And a lot of things may have been said about this man. One of the things that I heard about him was, in fact, his last birthday, there was that story that his daughter was 62. And he's turning 72, right? 71, when his daughter is 62. And that was 100% falsehood. This same daughter, I didn't even realize, was someone I met in North London, Ladysmith Street, 16 long years ago, at an old classmate's home. And they were classmates in Middlesex University in London. So if that daughter of Tinubu is a classmate of my own secondary school classmate, Nina, and she can never, there's no how she would have been 62. And these are the kind of lies that when you are able to identify some of these lies, it makes it difficult for you to really assimilate everything that you hear. I believe in giving people fair chance at any opportunity that they seek. And this man has come up to run for president of Nigeria, and he has become declared the president-elect, and come May 29th, he will be inaugurated. He will be sworn in as the 16th president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We need to keep a positive mind. What we should be looking for is to have a country, to hope for a president that will work for us. And honestly, I have seen this man. I've been a Lagosian, so I know how it was while he ran the affairs of Lagos State, where I lived. And I've seen the Lagos State he left behind. And I've seen the consistent progression of that state. And I can't say the same about other candidates in the race. I am someone who is run by conviction. If I'm convinced about something, I go for it.
Well, you clearly are in this case. You certainly sound that way, unless there's a different, your mouth is different from what your face says. But then a clumsy, rather uncomfortable start to that presidency with weighty decisions due to be made at the tribunal on Friday that could potentially affect his presidency. How do you gauge that possibility?
You seem to already know what...
No, I said... You have to listen to my words. I said there are weighty issues that could potentially affect his presidency. How do you gauge that possibility?
What are those
Your phone needs to be on silent,
issues?
by the way.
It is on silent.
Well, we can hear the beeping noise, so clearly not on silent.
Okay. What are those weighty issues? Do you want to throw a little bit of light on this weighty issues?
Well, there's the issue of the determination of...
Whether he's qualified to run?
Well, not just that, the double nomination, that's really the big issue in the Supreme Court at the moment of his running mates, Kashim Shettima, his vice president-elect.
Well,
that's a decision that will be taken in court.
I think discussing what is in the court would probably amount to sub judice, but I personally do not have any doubt that he will be sworn in on the 29th.
Right. So what are his great pitches to the Nigerian people? What's his presidential agenda in a nutshell?
I mean, his agenda is all over the place. His blueprint
yeah, but we want you
is
to articulate it again.
I mean, the economy
in a
of
nutshell.
the country, he is going to boost the economy, make sure that Nigeria's economy would definitely be better than where he met it. He has promised that. And I have no doubt to not believe him based on his antecedents and the work he did in Lagos State. And the hand-holding he has also continued to do to those who came on board after he's left office. How you know a good leader is what kind of succession plan that person had. You've had people who have finished running a state, when they leave, that state retrogresses greatly. And that's not the case with this man who is the president-elect. And he's talked much about the area of oil and gas, a lot of critical infrastructure area that will be developed. And he's not wavering when it comes to who heads his economic team. And they've been pointers to that. And I think it's something to also look forward to. And then the issue of power is also something else that he's talked much about. And he also has given his words in the issue of running an inclusive government, where he even said he doesn't even mind stepping beyond the shores of his own party to get those Nigerians who can work in specific sectors if he has to do that. So that clearly shows you that he is not coming to play politics with the lives of citizens of this country.
Well, at the moment, it's all words, isn't it? We'll have to watch and see what happens. But let's turn to the race for the leadership of the House of Representatives. You ran for position there in the past. It's relevant to you in that sense because you're also in the APC. And you also support one of the candidates in the race to be Speaker, Miriam Onuoha, the only woman in that race. Her name came up in an interview on this program on Wednesday, but alas, not in support of her bid. Take a listen to member-elect Ikenga Ugochinyere, who supports Tajuddin Abbas and Benjamin Kalu.
To be honest with you, she is my sister. First of all, she started by she wanted to run for speaker. Along the line, she wanted to run for deputy speaker. The other moment, she was with Adodogowa. The other moment, she's with Betera and the G7 and the G6. The next moment, she's with another camp. And then we go to meetings and we say, we are interested in the deputy speaker coming to our zone. That's the least we can take if we're not getting speaker. And then you say you don't want a deputy speaker. So if we proceed like we have done now, to accept the deputy speaker that is on to our people in the same joint ticket with Abbas, if she can be able to pull it through, as a speakership aspirant, so be it. But I can tell you that the party where she belongs, because it's an intra-party issue that we don't want to get involved. Their party have brought a zoning formula and brought candidates.
Yeah, she's in the APC.
Yes, and we've looked at what the party put on the table. Right. And we looked at the realistic options for our people. That now they have Benjamin Kal, who is qualified, and have Tajuddin, who is qualified. Most of our colleagues believe that we'll go that route. And there's nothing wrong with that.
The member-elect there, Ikenga Ugochinyere, as I mentioned, you are a supporter of Miriam Onuoha, but you're also in the rather uncomfortable position of having Benjamin Kalu as your representative. I mean, so in a sense, you're betwixt.
No, I mean, I listen to this young man. First of all, I always have a bit of reservations for people who wear dark glasses in the broad daylight. So, so for that said, I'm sort of confused here, because if he talked about, I don't quite like the way he took that question, because even my brother, Ben, who of course is...
That's Benjamin Kalu, who is the person they're supporting as Deputy Speaker.
He's supporting as Deputy Speaker. Right. Benjamin is a brother that I love very much. Ben and I are from Abia North, the same senatorial zone. And he's a good friend of mine. And he's also eminently qualified to run and be the position that he's running for. And I totally applaud his interest. Is very much in order. But when I listen to this guy, I think that what you're looking at in this 10th assembly, I said somewhere else that the 9th assembly was the worst assembly, even though my party is in the majority, for one single reason, that they denied the Nigerian women their 5 gender bills. And if the 10th assembly is going to be a serious national assembly, I don't have a problem. I will be very happy to see my brother as speaker or deputy speaker. But I've looked at the computation of the people running or how it stands right now among the presiding of those contesting for the 4 presiding offices. You see, we have like 6 top presiding leadership of offices in Nigeria. Number 1 citizen, number 2 citizen, number 1 being Ahmed Bola Tinubu, Kashim Shettima, number 2 citizen, the Senate President. Yet. The Senate President, to be. Yeah. The Senate President will be number 3 citizen, and the deputy 4. The 5th speaker, 6th deputy speaker. Now, what you're telling me, I know this man, His Excellency Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is a man who has oftentimes said that he would run an inclusive government. How do you run an inclusive government when the 6 top presiding offices in Nigeria will be occupied by all men?
Yeah, but it's not Tinubu's place to tell them what to do.
I'm talking about from presidency to Senate to Speaker, Deputy Speaker, right? So what you need to have a gender balance. And for that to happen, it's either if the speakership is zoned to the Southeast, I think that's where Miriam is running from the Southeast. So her position actually takes care of, it's like Nigerians or the 10th National Assembly killing 2 birds with 1 stone.
Right, but how is her actual campaign doing? I mean, is she on the back foot, or is she being, I mean, is this message that you're giving, which is a very reasonable message, is it resonating in the House of Representatives?
Well, you see, I am not a member of the House of Reps.
Yeah, I know, but you're supporting someone who's there.
I will always support competence. I will always support qualified people to hold positions. And it's so good that all the candidates, all the people we've talked about are eminently qualified for the position. So if it is zoned to the Southeast, any of these 2 people can become the deputy speaker. But in my case, I think that it makes a great sense.
Well, it's already been zoned to the Southeast.
If it's zoned to the Southeast, I mean, it's been rumored. I don't know. Until if it's zoned, do you now do micro zoning? If you zone to the Southeast, it's now for the people from that zone to now compete for that position. I'm just saying that
okay.
it would make sense that you do not just have a woman.
Right.
Because what typically happens in most cases, last Ninth Assembly, I was in the forefront campaigning for Honorable Nkiruka Onyejocha. Although she toiled, she campaigned, because you asked me this question. She did all that her contemporaries did, right? But at the end of the day, she was just merely compensated with Deputy Chief Whip. That is okay. However, what Nigerian women are looking for now is not just to have a principal officer. We need a woman presiding in that National Assembly leadership. Presiding is the word. And then they can take it a step further to have at least 2-3 women among other principal officers. This has become very important, not because you need women, but you need to develop Nigeria. You need women of Nigeria to have representation. But that representation should not just be because somebody is a woman. But hey, we've got somebody who has the right competencies, who is equally qualified, just like my brother.
I think you've made that point stridently, and I would have to agree with what you have said, although I don't vote in the National Assembly.
Both of us don't vote.
But I do agree with the principle of the points you're making. I want to thank you very much indeed. Mary Ikoku, who is a rights activist, who's a member of the APC's Presidential Campaign Council. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks for having me.